Estamos aquí con Noam Chomsky en la sección Pensadores ante la crisis. It's also been 20 years since the Seattle the Seattle protests, and also almost 20, like a bit less than 20 years from the Genoa protest. There's been left-wing action for quite a long time. It's just that it doesn't quite seem to settle somehow. Why do you think?
But these are very close to left victories. You don't win in one shot. Take women's rights. It isn't as if somebody stood up in 1965 and said, yeah, let's have women's rights. It's a long struggle against a lot of opposition. Abolition was even longer. Civil rights, harsh and brutal. Take, say, the anti-war movement in the 60s. Strongly opposed uniformly by all the media. It was impossible to get into the major media to talk about it. Virtually impossible. A movement did develop, powerful, strong movement, even developed its own media, like Ramparts magazine and others, where people could break through the media monopoly. But it's never been easy. It's not easy now. So you don't just snap your fingers and things happen. You have to work on it. The way the Sunrise Movement managed to break through and get the Green New Deal to operate. The way SNCC workers, young activists in the South in the early 60s, were able to break through the violent, brutal barrier of vicious racism. And it wasn't simple. A lot got killed, beaten, brutally attacked by the police, state troopers, and others. It was extremely ugly, but they finally managed to get some successes. Okay, that's the way things happen. The power doesn't say, please take it away from us. That doesn't happen.
Professor, what can we do? What can the media do to fight this propaganda, this disinformation that doesn't appear in the newspapers, but appears in the pockets of people that goes straight to their phones?
If you're a reporter in the newspaper, report on the fact that in order to improve his electoral prospects, President Trump is perfectly consciously slaughtering huge numbers of people in Africa and Yemen. Maybe the editors won't let the article through. I don't know. Actually, there are some reporters who do this. It's not 100%. So you read the media carefully, you can learn a lot about these things. But the basic stories are simply marginalized. Write a column or an opinion piece or a news report, for that matter, which reports the fact that here's a possible news report. Scientists all over are saying another pandemic is coming, harsher than this one, unless we do something to prevent it. And the way to do something to prevent it is to look at the sources of the current pandemic. So let's look at those sources, and I'll do it for the first time. It's a possible article. In fact, it should be everywhere.
So when you say look at the sources, I imagine you mean that the source of this pandemic is our relationship with animals in the natural world. So
that's not what I'm saying. That's a part of it, but a small part, very small part. The primary source of the pandemic is something called capitalism, exacerbated by neoliberalism. We see that instantly as soon as we look at what happened. Okay, it's pretty simple. 2003, there was an enormous coronavirus epidemic, the SARS epidemic. It's very similar virus to the current one. It was contained, but scientists pointed out right away, just the way this is 2003, just the way they're doing now, that there's going to be another one coming. It's not enough to have knowledge then or now. Somebody has to do something about it. Who can do something about it? Well, The drug companies, huge profits inflated by neoliberal mechanisms, very rich, all the resources, laboratories, but they're blocked. They're blocked by something called capitalism. There's no profit in it. You don't profit by planning to deter a disaster that's going to occur in a couple of years. So, thanks to capitalist logic, they're out. What about the government? Actually, the government does most of the research, supports most of the research, public funding, national labs, research institutions, and universities. Most of the research that and development that leads to drugs and vaccines is in the public sector. So why doesn't the government step in? That's where you get neoliberalism, savage form of capitalism, which says, go back to Reagan and Thatcher, there's no society, government is the problem, not the solution. Everything has to be placed in private hands. Government can't do it. So thanks to savage capitalism, the government is blocked. So both sources are blocked. That's the main source of the pandemic.
This is such an honor to me. I'm very, very glad I got to see you tonight.
Good. Happy to talk to you. I'm sorry I'd have to leave.